Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Terry with College Football Stop. Bring you another show today. Halloween, October 31st, spooky season. It's my favorite time of the year. So, obviously, football, Halloween, holidays, family, all that good stuff. I love it. So, let's go ahead and get into it. A small update on the Michigan stuff that's been going on. Then I want to kind of talk about this Ohio State team, where they're at so far this year. Can this team win a national championship? Can Ryan Day win a national championship as a head coach? And then one of the big questions that I've been asking myself, especially after catching a little bit of the All 22 film from the Wisconsin game, is this Ohio State team going to lean on the run game as the season progresses? Obviously, the really good defense in a run game is the way that you can win a lot of games. So let's go ahead and get into it. Like I said, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the update on what's going on at Michigan. So um, there wasn't much that came out. It's something that I want to continue updating as long as new information comes out, or at least new information is, or people are thinking, whatever, whatnot. I want to stay up on this because obviously it's one of the big topics in college football right now, and it has to do with the rivals. So, I mean, I personally think that they did cheat, but again, I'm also biased. I think they cheated, and I think that it made a big impact. Now, looking at the new information that came out, though, really the only thing that came out is that a lot of people are accusing Connor Stallions of being on the sidelines of a game this year that was not a Michigan game. I guess it's the like Central Michigan versus Michigan State game. And there was a picture. I don't really know how the picture compares to Stallions himself, or even if that was if that's the only time that people were accusing him of being on the sidelines of another game. But I do know that it's something that came out, and if that is the case, that just adds another layer to this. There's also like rumors going around of the uh, was I think his name was Matt Weiss. It was like Michigan's former like co-offensive coordinator that got fired around January, and it was supposed to be for like computer crimes. There's kind of word out that when they went through his computer, they found like uh, things from betting sites and stuff like that. So I think the situation is going to continue getting messier and messier, and I do think it's going to take a while to resolve. I know that a lot of Ohio State fans originally were like assuming or hoping maybe that something would happen this year since Michigan cheated in games this year. I don't think that that's going to happen by the end of this college football season. I think that pretty much it's going to drag out, and the reason for that I think is not just because they're dragging it out. I think that that's because there's a lot of things that need to be investigated. There's a lot of things that need to be looked into, a lot of interviews that need to be done. So, again, I do think it's going to drag out. However, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I never thought that it was a bad thing, just simply because if you're an Ohio, like as an Ohio State fan, I want the game to be played because nothing can validate this more for an Ohio State fan than if they play Michigan this year and go out there and kick their ass, especially with Ohio State's offense not being as good as it normally is. Um, excuse me, which we'll get into that here in a minute. But yeah, I mean that was a small update. Like I said, there's not too much going on with it right now. Obviously, uh, with the NCAA doing an active investigation, there could be things that come out. I keep seeing people on Twitter saying like, "Oh, I'm hearing that Michigan's going to have good news today," or "Oh, there's going to be good news or bad news coming out of Ann Arbor today." We'll see, man. I'm going to keep up on it, and I'll keep bringing it to you guys as it comes, and we'll talk about it. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. So. All right, I'm going to move on from that. The next thing I wanted to talk about here is I want to get into some Ohio State stuff. The first thing I wanted to start with is we talk a lot about Ohio State playing their best 11 players. So when I say their best 11, I want to say their best 11 on offense, their best 11 on defense. Now, obviously, you still have to have guys in the right position, okay? So when we're talking best 11 players, it's going to be the best players at each position. And I think that we kind of have that right now. I think, in the past, Ohio State fans have always been concerned about playing your best 11 players because it seems like we were trying to just make sure that we get the older guys in the game and let them get more reps. And I think that was ultimately taking away reps from some of the younger guys, which it does have a impact on their development, obviously. So that's something that I'm glad that we kind of got away from this year. And it seems like for the most part, Ohio State's playing the best 11 players. So, if you just go down the list, like if we start on defense, okay, the best 11 players, you're going to have JT Tuimoloau, Denzel Burke, Jordan Hancock, Sonny Styles, Tyleik Williams, so that's 5. And then you look at Josh Proctor, I would say 6, Davis Nigmanosin 7, Mike Hall Jr. 8, Tommy Eichenberg 9, Steel Chambers 10, maybe Steel Chambers. I think I like Cody Simon in that role a little bit more than Steel, but at the same time, I think Steele's been playing good ball the last few weeks, so it's not something that I don't think that Steele deserves to not play on this team. I think that he just needs to continue getting better, and I think that having Cody Simon take some of those reps away is probably what he needed. Jim Knowles made the statement that Steele's always getting better and that he's still fairly new to playing linebacker because he did come into Ohio State as a running back. I've been hard on Steele because I think that, originally, a lot of this conversation came up because people wanted to see C.J. Hicks play. And I still want to see him play. I still want to see him get reps. When he did make mistakes, but at the same time, I think that that's how you learn. You go out there and you make mistakes. Steel Chambers also learned how to do Steel Chambers became the player he is now by going out on the field and learning and making mistakes and getting better. You look back to like 2021 when Steel Chambers was considered like the savior of the defense because that defense was just that bad that putting Steel Chambers at linebacker seemed like a major increase. So, it seems like a major upgrade, I should say. So that was that was 10. And then the last one on the best 11 would obviously be Lathan Ransom. And I don't necessarily think he's the 11th best player. Like, I didn't really make an effort to put those in order. But I think that's your best 11. And honestly, that's the guys that we see play the most. So I don't have an issue with it. I think that what Jim Knowles is doing this year is playing the best players. Now, obviously, in the last game, we saw some kind of mix-up. I don't know if they were just trying new things or the way that Wisconsin was deploying, really spreading things out. They wanted to run a dime package out there. But I don't think that Cam Martinez, I don't think that he's one of our best, even like 15 players, 18 players on defense. Unfortunately, every time that guy gets out there, it seems like he kind of gets picked on. And I don't know. I was watching another show and they said that he's also very unlucky. And I do agree with that. Like, we've seen other guys lose on routes before and the ball doesn't get there. But for whatever reason, when Cam Martinez is on the field, he gets beat, which that part's his fault. And then second, they always complete the ball. It's like they never make a mistake. They never make an errant throw. Receiver never falls down. It's like, I'm going to make the best throw. But again, ultimately, he's still out there getting cooked. So, you can't, you can't say that doesn't, or that it's just luck, because there's all the rest of our guys are also making plays. Even though they may have a bad play every now and then, they're also making plays on a consistent basis. So again, you just simply can't not make plays and also make bad plays. That's how it is. All right, so that's kind of my best 11 on defense. But again, it's the guys who are starting. I think that they've done a phenomenal job this year of playing the best players, and I think that it shows. If you look at how good Ohio State's defense is, it's because you have those guys out there making plays, and all your playmakers are on the field. They're not sitting behind undrafted free agents in the next year's NFL draft or whatever. And then moving on to the offensive side of the ball. So your best 11 players here, I think, again, that they're doing a pretty good job of playing the best 11. You look at, I would say, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., Trevion Henderson, Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming. I don't know how to judge that one. Like, obviously, Julian has a spot on this team. I don't think he's one of the best 11 players on offense, though. But they have been rotating him in with Carnell Tate, so I'm okay with that. I would probably consider Carnell Tate one of the best 11 players. So we'll put Julian and Carnell together. We'll just do them as like a slash, just for that position. And then obviously you have Cade Stover. You have your 5 offensive linemen, which I think they are playing the best ones they have. Maybe Luke Montgomery could be a part of that. We haven't really seen him get a ton of reps this year, though. So I think right now the offensive line is playing so well, and they're finally starting to gel. You don't make any changes in that unit. I think you leave that unit alone, and you just continue gelling, continue getting better, continue teaching those guys. And by the end of the year, when we have our biggest matchups, I think they will be ready for the challenge, I guess I should say. Because honestly, in the big games this year, I feel like the offensive line has played well. Maybe the worst one was probably Notre Dame, but that was early in the season. They were still gelling. Then you move on to Penn State. They played phenomenal. And then in this Wisconsin game, the offensive line was great. I don't care what people say about like maybe a guy got beat once or twice. Like that happens. It's football. Like you're playing against other scholarship athletes. You get beat every now and then. But overall, the offensive line played phenomenal against Wisconsin, and they were really good in the run game, which is a segment that we're going to get to here. Which I just want to know. I want to know what you guys think. Is Ohio State going to lean on the run game going forward? Okay, and then I'll finish up with these with the best 11 players here. Obviously, you have Kyle McCord. Now, I think I kind of owe Kyle McCord an apology. I've been hard on Kyle McCord all year, and that's because I do think that we have another talented quarterback on roster with Devin Brown. However, I made a statement yesterday. I think I graded Kyle out at like a D minus for the Wisconsin game, and I actually have to change that grade. This was not his worst game. After going back and watching all 22 film, again, it kind of tells everything. Obviously, there was 2 mistakes that I say 100% are on Kyle, and unfortunately, both of them turned into turnovers with the fumble. Obviously, you have to hold on to the ball. I mean, Josh Fryer got beat on the play, but you have to hold on to the ball, and you have to have pocket awareness to not make every time your lineman gets beat turn into a strip sack. Okay, so I'm putting that on Kyle. And then also the interception that happened in the end zone that was on first down, he just forced the ball and he never should have. The other interception was not really on him. I mean, he threw the ball right where it was supposed to be, and one of the receivers, Carnell Tate, made a mistake on. He was supposed to run a guy off and he didn't, so that guy ultimately was able to just sit on the route by Marv, and really he should have been kind of forced into guarding Carnell Tate if he would have done the right thing on the play. So, I mean, again, I'm not going to hold Kyle accountable for that, because if he did what he was supposed to do, that would have been like a 30, 40-yard completion probably. Instead, it's an interception that looks really bad for him. But the ball was on the money and it was where it was supposed to be. It was on time. I mean, I don't really put that on him. And the defender made a really good play there too. So, I don't know. I think that Kyle has to, in my opinion, he has to stop having the what the fuck bad plays. That's really the biggest thing with him, in my opinion. Like he can make the throws. There was a game this year, I think the Penn State game, where he was very inaccurate with the ball, right? But he was not like that against Wisconsin. There was one throw where he was throwing a screen pass to Chip Trainum, and he missed it. He threw it too low, and you could tell Chip was kind of pissed about it. And he should be. Those are throws you just have to make. Like that play could end up, if it's blocked properly, could end up going for a touchdown. You never know. But it has zero chance, and it's just a waste of a down if you're going to throw it into the dirt at his ankles and then he can't catch it. So he has to stop having bonehead plays where he's turning the ball over and they are his fault. Plays where he is not reading the defense properly. Those types of things he has to continue getting better at. But I would be lying if I said that Kyle McCord has not progressed through the season and got drastically better. I think that I need to kind of stand on that, because I did say, I think on my show yesterday, that I said that I didn't feel like Kyle really got better. So I'm willing to say that I was wrong. That's fine. And I hope that he continues to progress and gets better. If he is injured right now, I don't know what's going on with that. And hopefully we get Devin Brown back, because, I mean, I still think that Devin Brown is as good, at least, as Kyle, and potentially better. I'm going to stand on that, just because I've stood on it all year, and I don't think that anything has changed to tell me otherwise. I think that that's kind of where we're at with it. Um, and the the one issue with Kyle is like he's not super athletic, and a lot of people, a lot of the beat writers, I guess, say that he's just as athletic as Devin Brown. It's just simply not true. I mean, if you're saying that, you're just lying to yourself because you've seen what Devin Brown is able to do. I mean, just if you look at the his since they created the Devin Brown red zone package, right? What he's been able to do with that and like the way he's been able to find holes and run through defenders, those are things that Kyle's just simply not going to do. Now he did do some quarterback sneaks, that's cool and it worked. So I love that we have that in our playbook and we have that as something that we're putting on film because if you can automatically get a third down and one, a second down and one by just quarterback sneaking it, that's huge for your offense. So I don't know, man. We'll see how Kyle continues to progress. I did have to kind of walk back a little bit what I said though, just because, like I said, he has progressed. He has gotten better as the years went on, but he has to continue getting better because he's not where he needs to be for this team to win a championship. So luckily, they don't have to play for a championship this week. They can continue progressing, and I think that kind of what we need as a fan base is we need for Kyle to put it all together and just have a great game. We need to not see Kyle struggle, fumble around, not look alert in the first half of the game, and then come out in the second half and game manage his way to a 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like we need to see Kyle come out there with that mentality of like I'm the best player on the field and I'm gonna go out here and make plays. And he needs to actually convert that into making plays and not just making mistakes. If he can do that within like the next 2 games, let's say this, if he can come out like that 3 times in the next 2 games, the confidence of your average Ohio State fan is going to shoot through the roof because we're going to be like, okay, this is it. This is what we've been waiting to see right here. It's finally happening, even though a lot of us gave up hope after last week. If that were to happen, I mean, my hope is going to be instantly restored. I'm okay. We're winning the national championship. I think we can either way, but I mean, if Kyle starts balling, then that would shoot my confidence through the roof with this team. And then you know what? I lost track of where I was at in terms of the best 11 players, kind of going on that Kyle McCord rant. But overall, my point is that I think that Ohio State does play the best 11 players on both sides of the ball. And I mean, that's an issue that last year I would not have said that last year. Last year I 100% would have said that we're not playing the best 11 players. Excuse me. I would have said we're not playing the best 11 players, and that's hurting this team. So I don't think they're doing that this year. I think that Ryan Day did take the more like CEO role on this team. Like I know that he's still calling the plays on offense, right? But I think that he really did step up, and I think that he implemented his thoughts more into the defense, and that shows if you watch them because what's Ryan Day's thing? What's the one thing that he always said was the hardest um, to score on that he wanted his defense to be? The single high defense. That was the one thing that he said was the hardest thing he went against. He went out and hired Jeff Hafley his first year, who was known for that style of defense and had one of the best defenses in college football. And then, obviously we know what happened from there. But Jim Knowles came in last year and, obviously he had his own scheme, his own thoughts. But if you look at the defense this year, they're doing more of that single high. They're doing more mixing things up. It's not so much it's not necessarily Jim Knowles' style of defense, and it's not necessarily exactly what Ryan Day has always wanted either. But it's a mixture of the two, which I think is probably the best option. And I mean, it's showing this defense is averaging 10 points a game, and they have I think it was like the 15th highest strength of schedule in college football, which is way higher, like absolutely the highest out of anyone that's in the top 10. So I mean, whatever. The defense is playing phenomenal. Whatever they have to do to get it there, I think that Ryan Day had played a big part in that, and I think that Jim Knowles played a big part in that with him being multiple and him allowing himself to continue learning and adapting as a defensive coordinator instead of just kind of going in and be like, look, this is what I'm doing, and we're sticking to it. So I don't know. I love this team, man. honestly one of my favorite seasons that we've had so far, in terms of just Ohio State on the field, because we have a lot to talk about. We at all times this year we felt like this team has not hit their ceiling, which I think is great, unless you feel that way the whole season and end up losing to a big, in a big game like Michigan or something like that. However, it keeps me on my toes, constantly looking for ways that this team can improve. And then at the same time, I don't really feel threatened in any game because our defense is just that good. And I think that our defense can carry this team going forward as they have so far this season. And I'm going to use that to actually segue into my next topic. So, what my topic was, what are realistic goals for this defense, right? So when I say that, so far they've allowed 10 points per game. They have not played the best offenses that they're going to play this year. There will be, I mean, I guess Michigan will be the only one, right? Michigan will be the best offense Ohio State's played this year. And then if they were to advance into like the college football playoffs, obviously you're probably going to be playing a better offense than what we've seen this year. So a realistic goal for this defense for me would be to hold every single team under 24 points. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Um, I think with how good they've been, I think that it's a real possibility they could hold every team under 20. But I don't want to say that with like a college football playoff game, because with a college football playoff game, a team having 30 days to prepare is automatically going to be an advantage for the offense. That's just how it is. It's been that way in every single college football playoff game. You get to that first round, and Ryan Day said it himself. If you want to win on this stage, you got to put up 40 points. That's how it is. You got to put up 40 points. And you've even seen some teams with really good defenses go into the first round and give up a lot of points. Like look at last year. I mean, Georgia and Michigan were the number 1 and number 2 defenses in college football, and Michigan gave up 50. Georgia gave up 41. I mean, unfortunately, Michigan couldn't score 50, and Georgia was able to score 42. So, well, I mean, you got to bring your whole team for those games. But realistically, for the regular season, I think Ohio State could keep teams under 20 points, and that's including Michigan. I think that they can hold them under 20 points, especially if the whole Stallions play calling stuff has as big of an impact on the game as I think it does. Because I do think that it had a huge impact. Um, and you just have to look at it overall from a game flow thing. Like, I think it probably had a bigger impact for Michigan's defense than it did for their offense. However, Michigan's defense being as good as it has been has a huge impact on how good their offense is. If your defense is getting off the field right away, getting the ball back to you right away, and you're getting more chances to score, the other team's defense is getting worn down. Ultimately, that's going to help your offense, and I think that's kind of what's been happening with Michigan throughout the last couple years. Like I said, I could be wrong. We'll see. I'm probably overestimating it, and Michigan fans are probably underestimating it. The truth is, it's probably somewhere in the middle, like everything. But for now, I'm going to stick with. I think it had a huge impact, and I think that you'll see that in this year's game. Probably when they play Penn State, you'll see it. We'll see how that works out, though. All right, so that was it for my realistic goals. Like I said, just under 20 for the regular season, under 24 for the entire season. And I think that would probably go down as one of the best defenses ever in college football. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, there's some really dominant ones. I'm not saying it's the best, but when I say one of the best, I'm talking like top 10, top top 15. I mean, that's still massive when you look at how many teams and how many years college football has been going. All right, so the next question I have here is Ohio State going to lean on the run game going forward? So obviously we had TreVeyon Henderson go for what I think like 160 yards this week, which Ohio State hasn't really leaned on the run game like that all throughout the year. You know, they've been trying to throw the ball. Now they didn't score a ton of points. You know, 24 points against Wisconsin is not a lot, but if you're going to put up 24 points, lean on the run game, win the time of possession battle, and have this defense, I think that that's the recipe to win any game this year. And then obviously you have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Emeka Egbuka coming back. Having those guys to use and like if your run game is going right, and you're leaning on that run game, and then when you do throw in a play action, you have a Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. out there running routes. I think that's the recipe for this team to win. I think that recipe takes pressure off Kyle McCord because, as much as I've talked good about him in the show, he does look a little like flaily and a little like nonchalant sometimes. So I think taking the pressure off of him and just getting him in some more favorable positions would be a huge thing for Ohio State to do. Like I said, Travion went for 162 yards and a touchdown. If they can kind of lean on Travion Henderson, lean on this offensive line, and maybe have him at least be over like 100 yards for each game the rest of the year, and if he's really hitting, then he can hit 150, 200 yards. That's where I think this team is going to be able to play their best ball, especially with the defense. I just talked about it, about how I think that this defense can hold teams to under 20 points. And if they can hold teams to under 20 points and lean on that run game, and then, like I said, be opportunistic with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka once he's back, I don't see a team holding this team, under 20 points with Travion Henderson out there, and they're leaning on that run game. Obviously, Notre Dame did it, but that was very early in the year. Ohio State's offensive line was really struggling at that point, and I think that the offensive line has just gotten better and better and better as the year goes on. I don't think Ohio State will have another game where they're held under 20 points, and as long as the defense can do what I think it can, I don't see this team really losing a game, especially in the regular season, and that includes the Michigan game. He said, "Wow, what's up, man? Ron or whoever is on the Best Damn Media YouTube, thanks for coming out, man." All right, so that was my, like I said, I think they will lean on the run game. That's where I was at with it. I think that this team, if they do lean on the run game, I think that they will run through everybody else on their schedule, including Michigan. I think Travion Henderson is that good. I've been saying all year how good he is, but with the way the offensive line is gelling now, if they give him 20-plus carries a game, he goes over 100 yards a game, that's just going to open up the pass game for Kyle McCord. And honestly, I don't really want the fate of our season resting on Kyle McCord's shoulders. As much as I've talked good about him in this show, about how I was a little too hard on him for the Wisconsin game, I don't want the fate of our season resting on him having to throw for 300 yards in the game to win. Now, if a team wants to stack the box to stop the run, I think that we have good enough players on the outside where we can take advantage of that, and we could still score that 24 points that we're going to need to win a game. So that's where I'm at with that. The last thing I want to do, I'm just predicting how I think this team is going to finish this year. Like I've been talking about that a little bit. I think that they win out. I think they win the rest of their games in the regular season. I think they end up playing maybe Iowa or Wisconsin in the Big Ten Championship. They win that game pretty easily because I don't really think any team in the Big Ten West could challenge Ohio State this year. And then I think they're going to end up in the playoffs, and we'll see. They may end up going in as the 1 seed, which I would love that. I think if they win out, they probably will be the 1 seed. Maybe not though, because then you would have, assuming Georgia won out and beat Alabama or something like that in the SEC championship, that's probably automatically locking them in at the 1 seed. But we'll see when the playoff rankings come out tonight. We'll be talking about that on the show tomorrow. I think if I had to give my top 4 right now, I would probably have Georgia 1 still, maybe, just because I think that they're the best team. When I rank the teams, I go off of who I think are the 4 best teams, not necessarily who deserves it the most. If I were doing that now, I would kind of be lying. I would kind of be being hypocritical because I never looked at it that way in the past. I think Ohio State probably is the most deserving team to be number 1. But I would say Georgia is probably better than Ohio State right now. So I'm going to go with Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, and Florida State 4. That would probably be my top 4 right now. And I would have Washington just outside of that. I think Florida State would probably beat Washington right now. That's just where I'm at with it. Washington beat Oregon and then hasn't really played great since then. So we'll see. Obviously, that team can put up points, but they were right outside of my top 4. All right, so that's going to be it for the show today, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. But again, I'm super excited about this Ohio State team. I just want to keep talking about them because I think this team can win a national championship. And the thing that's the most exciting about it to me is that we have like a completely different team than what we're used to. Under Ryan Day, we've been used to high flying offenses, receivers out there routing people up, all that good stuff. We can score 40 points on anybody. Defense might give up 20 points to a lower level P5 team, or even a FCS team might give up 17, 20 points. But now it's a little different. Now it's like, okay, we're gonna hit you in the mouth. We're gonna run the ball. We got some of the best wide receivers in college football when we do throw it. Quarterback's a little mid, but I mean, hopefully he can manage the game without turning the ball over. And if he doesn't turn the ball over, you're not beating this team. That's kind of how where I'm at with it. Even though I said a lot of good things about him, I still think that the way that this Ohio State team loses a game this year is if Kyle McCord loses a game for him. So I don't know. I don't think the defense is going to lose a game for Ohio State. I don't think that anyone's going to completely shut down the wide receivers or the running backs. It's just going to be simply if Kyle makes too many mistakes. And that's where I'm at with it. I don't think that he will, though. I think that this game will be a wake-up call for him. I think that we've all said that if Devin Brown was healthy, he may have gotten to play in this Wisconsin game, and Kyle McCord may have gotten pulled after having 3 turnovers in the first half. If we can say that and we think that, Kyle McCord probably thinks that too. So hopefully he can take another step forward in the next game. We're playing against Rutgers. They have a decent defense, but it's Rutgers, man. I'm not going to talk about them like they're a playoff team. We need to go in there and put a beat down on them. Defense needs to step up and hold them just like they have everybody else. They'll get a little bit of a unique challenge, which I think is going to be huge for Ohio State because Rutgers has a very athletic quarterback. Now, that's the one thing that Ohio State really hasn't played against this year is a really good athlete from the quarterback position who can run the ball. And I think that it'll be a big stepping stone for them because when you look towards the end of the year against Michigan, J.J. McCarthy is a good athlete. That's something we're going to have to be prepared for. So this Rutgers game, I think, will be good overall for the team. And we need to go out there and put a beat down on them. I think that they can do it. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate it. I'll be live again tomorrow at 10 a.m. I want to dig into this Rutgers game and kind of move off of Wisconsin. I might get to see some more All-22 films, so I may have some of that to talk about. I got to finish up watching the offense and then hopefully get into the defense. So thanks for coming. Peace out. You guys have a good day.